If you give a message to Donald Trump, what would it be?
Release the Epstein list.
They want to know who these rich people were that were abusing girls with Jeffrey Epstein. Would you guys like an Epstein file? We're handing them out right now. It's fake news? No, these are actually in the files. It's an Epstein file. That's Donald Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell. He wished her well in 2020.
Very nice.
And I'm going to give it to you. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Epstein?
Just that it's just a big mess. A lot of people covering up for everybody on both sides of the line, on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
It's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax.
How do you think Trump was trying to fight the release of the files?
I don't know.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here. And did you see that pathetic crowd that showed up at CPAC last week in Grapevine, Texas? It was a gathering of loons where the stupid ran deep, and the MAGA mating call of "What about Joe Biden?" was on the tip of everybody's tongues. And if you wondered who would still drag their happy asses out of their homes to go to a funeral procession like CPAC was, it's these people, the poster children for Democrat derangement syndrome.
Feels like whenever you ask a Trump supporter about the Epstein files, they just say, "What about? What about so-and-so? What about so-and-so?" What do you think about the Epstein files?
What about him? That's a broad question.
Why do you think Donald Trump wasn't releasing them? Why do you think he was fighting the release of them?
Why didn't anybody else?
You want to know what entitled arrogance looks like? You want to see how a typical Trump apologist thinks? Jason Selvig shows us right here. He exposes what the remnants of the MAGA movement are all about. Loyalty to Trump no matter what. Even if it means throwing your support behind a pedophile, just so you don't have to admit that the libs were right. And when presented with the facts, these thin-skinned, snowflakey mental deficients did what they always do. They show you just how stupid they really are.
Oh, they're Epstein files. Help yourself. How you doing? Would you guys like an Epstein file? We're handing them out right now. You guys want an Epstein file? Here, take them.
Take the BS back.
Well, you don't want it? Why?
When we had umpteen dozen other presidents who never did a flippin' thing, but they were on his island. They were on his island.
Like Howard Lutnick? Howard Lutnick
Oh,
was
you mean like Clinton, Bill Clinton,
Yeah, good.
and
Good.
Hillary
Arrest. If
Clinton,
they did anything,
and
arrest them.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
You don't want to read? You don't do it? Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think he lied about that? Because
He didn't lie.
Oh, no,
about
I
it.
want you to keep that. It's
No,
it's
we
an
don't
Epstein
want
file.
it. We don't want your
What's that?
propaganda. Go take it.
Okay.
And put it where the sun don't shine.
Where's that?
You know exactly where that is.
Trying to hand them out, people won't take them. I don't know why Republicans don't want to take a look at the Epstein files with Donald Trump's name all over them.
These folks were in a frenzy, bum rushing those empty lines to that empty auditorium like bullies in traffic, and really didn't have the time to talk about the Epstein files with Selvig. You know, they needed to get to their seats in the empty auditorium and couldn't be bothered with what used to drive them up a wall, exposing pedophiles and child trafficking. It was an older, less enthusiastic crowd where grinder crashing really wasn't the main concern. I mean, hell, the main guys didn't even show up. Trump and Vance had other things to do, and Mike Johnson wasn't even in the state. And you know what's crazy? For as far back as I can remember, these toothless inbred jackaloons have been screaming about releasing the Epstein files. That's why many of them voted for Trump, because he promised to release the files and somehow prove that Democrats were behind the deep state cabal of child trafficking. They were like dogs on the trail of a killer, full of fury and fire, demanding the release of the files. But as soon as Donald Trump says it's time to move on, they swallow their pride and follow along with their tails between their legs. It's dumbfounding how MAGA alpha males are so submissive to authoritarian figures like Donald Trump. It's like their backbones just slid out of their asses when he changed course and blamed them for his failures. No resistance, no questions, just blind loyalty and blame Joe Biden. And when they all got inside, what a grand disappointment that must have been. The place was empty except for the vendors. The front row looked like a Kid Rock concert, 90 feet long with 12 teeth, and a few of those had a couple in their pockets. It was such a disaster that even Mike Lindell couldn't get through an interview without being served legal papers.
We're on TV, please. We're on TV, please. Okay, we're on TV, please.
What are you serving him with?
TV,
What-
please.
what-
We're on TV,
what are you
please.
serving him with?
I'm not accepting.
What are you trying to serve, ma'am?
We're on TV, please.
Yeah.
We're on TV, please. Okay.
What an epic fall from grace for CPAC this was. From the glory days of the Goldwater girls to the modern day grapevine grannies, CPAC has really gone downhill, and there's a reason for it. Donald Trump is like the reverse version of King Midas. Everything Trump touches turns to shit. He has turned the party of fiscal conservatism, trickle-down economics, and Jerry Falwell family values into a cesspool of corruption, sin, and greed. But this is Tarrant County, where Republicans make excuses for losing elections, like recently when they were blaming an ice storm for Democrat and veteran Taylor Ramett absolutely smoking their Republican candidate like a cheap cigar to win a seat in the Texas legislature. The support for Trump in this area of Texas, between Dallas and Fort Worth, has been dwindling for quite some time. But every area has those folks who are too stubborn to do what's right, even in the face of overwhelming evidence that their way of thinking is way off. They are like that story about the fox and the grapes, where the characters in question are always trying to reach the dream that's just out of their reach. They jump and jump all day trying to get it, but wind up frustrated with life and bitter at everyone and everything that they think foiled their attempts at reaching their goals. In the MAGA universe, that blame always goes to Joe Biden and the Democrats, because it's an easy and simple lie for them to always fall back on. It's MAGA's pathetic way of coping with life. Reality to them is elusive. They have problems accepting the fact that life oftentimes has disappointments, and many times those disappointments that they experience are actually self-inflicted. Bought on by bad choices, magical thinking, and glued all together with half-baked conspiracy theories that they've been telling themselves for years. They just can't break free and are hell-bent on riding down the highway to insanity, dressed up in the cheap Trump merch that makes them feel courageous and gives them purpose? Yeah. Because at this point, it's all about justifying each other's lies and validating each other's prejudices. These are the types, and we all know one, who preaches about how others should live and how immigrants are ruining this country. They have a mouthful of scripture and a belly full of hate. They use laugh emojis to respond to common sense posts on Facebook because they, like Trump, frustrate easily and choose to raise their voices instead of the quality of their argument. This is what happens when MAGA gets confronted by facts, especially the Epstein files. All that noise, all that outrage, all those years of screaming for the truth, and the second it doesn't fit the narrative, they shut it down like the other way and fall right back in line like the sheeple that they really are. No questions, no backbone, just blind loyalty wrapped in denial. Their heads are so deep in the sand, they'd rather protect the lie than face the truth. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.